Hola! It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, we're the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency channel. We take old, boring, and stale information and repackage that thing up in a fun and sexy way. I'm a man, a sleuth, an absolute Robstradamus prediction machine. And, yesterday's show, I was talking about the fact that Bitcoin was likely to break above 60K, test 63, and drop back down to 60K. My co-host didn't believe me. He was so distraught he couldn't make it today. So you got me and the Don himself, Rocco, in-house. We're also joined by Forrest here, which we'll bring here in a second. But today's show, we got a lot to unpack. So there was a big Zoom meeting put together by some high-level crypto executives, also by White House executives. Kamala Harris has said, hey, I want to be pro-crypto. Right. Also, you got Franklin Templeton. Now, they're offering some of their traditional products on a layer 2. What blockchains are they integrating? Who's going to see that surge of traditional finance liquidity into crypto? Excuse me. You also got Tether minting a crazy amount of stablecoins. And then we got Ripple, XRP. Speaking of stablecoins, they're throwing their hat in the ring. And also we got some near protocol news. So a lot to unpack today. Also, we got Forrest going to break down the charts and also join us for the conversation as he does typically on our Fridays for Forrest Fridays. And we'll get all that going on the back end of this little logo. And we're back. All right, so today's show is going to be a banger. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to look at some meme coins. We're going to discuss our favorite projects, Caspa, XRP, Cardano. You got the Chang hard fork at 70% of the nodes. So we are almost at the next stage of Cardano's roadmap, which will be the Voltaire era, which signals decentralization and puts the community at the driver's seat. Real quick, though, got to give my warm welcome, and let's bring in our co-host today. We got Forrest from Sistine Research. How you doing, brother?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Always
of course, man. Always a pleasure. Always excited to have you here joining us. Are you going to make it to Bitcoin Vegas? I know, and I don't know if you know, but the convention's here in Las Vegas next year. And so May of 2025, May 27th to the 29th, I believe it is. It's going to be here in our backyard. You going to come?
I will try. I don't do a lot of traveling, but I will definitely try to make it out there because I know you guys will be out there.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing it out in fashion as well. We're gonna rent a mansion and then have a big party and celebrate. And people are gonna come by the studio. It'll be a good time. Also, we got a link to the description, 10% off with the code OLA if you want to buy tickets. So a lot has happened since you joined us last in Bitcoin. I think we went from 69,000, and we dropped all the way down to briefly under 50,000. $49,000 Bitcoin. That was all in tandem with the traditional markets. We saw the Japanese markets really took a punch, and that has essentially bounced back. So has Wall Street. Well, Bitcoin's back over 60K. What's kind of been your big takeaway on the big market swings that we've seen lately, particularly in Bitcoin and the altcoins have of course followed with a little more volatility as well.
Yeah, I think it was just a lot of profit taking. Like you look at the stock market this year, it's up huge because 2023 was a pretty down year. 2024 has been pretty much straight up for the stock market. So you had a lot of funds and individual investors, in massive profit, and then you have the first kind of sketchy event to occur ever since we saw some banks go down in 2023. So I think the market was just like primed for a big round of profit taking. So it kind of made sense for the stock market to take a big hit. Japanese yen carry trade unwinding. So you had a bunch of people borrowing money for free, and now which is fine as long as the Japanese yen continues to weaken. But because Japan's starting to increase rates, that trade's unwinding. So whatever people were, in that trade were investing in, borrowing Japanese yen for free to invest in the stock market or bonds, whatever. They had to go and sell and buy Japanese yen back and pay back their loans. So
You
all of
think
that happening while the crypto's kind of, in a weak spot recently, yeah,
you
just had a big washout.
you think these sell the drop in Bitcoin price? You think that was more forced selling, or do you think that the markets are just genuinely spooked and they thought that, hey, you know what, we've seen more of this, top, whether it's short term or a longer term top, or maybe we're just a little overbought with the ETFs. But you think the market was spooked, or do you think, because of the integration of traditional finance and, that web is now, dug deep into these large banks and institutions? You think it was forced selling because of leverage and other external factors, or do you think the market just kind of was freaking out and just selling?
I think it was initially the market was spooked, and then that probably turned into some pretty big liquidations and deleveraging, in the crypto native space and perps on the crypto side. But you look at a fund that is heavily weighted, or maybe not even heavily weighted, but has an allocation to the tech sector, has an allocation to Nvidia, to Apple, to Tesla, to Meta, right? They may now also have an allocation to the Bitcoin ETF, and in a period of risk off or profit taking, the Bitcoin ETF is something that they can potentially sell to move to a more risk off or cash heavy place. So you look at Berkshire Hathaway, I think, and Warren Buffett, heaviest biggest cash position he's had in like 20 years or something like that, sold half of their Apple position because we're moving into a period of uncertainty with these rate cuts and seeing how things are going to shake out. When you're up massively, it makes sense to start cutting line items and move a little bit more risk off. I think when we see a big stock market washout like that, the Bitcoin ETF is going to be something that is in line with Tesla or Meta or Nvidia, where some of the portion of the position is just sold off by whatever funds or asset managers are holding it. So yeah, I do think we'll continue to see some correlation, especially when the stock market crashes. That we see some sell off in Bitcoin, but it did create a pretty big buying opportunity, and we saw money flow right back into Bitcoin in particular. Bounce from 49 to 60, whatever we went to. So it's been a strong bounce back.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you had a lot of inflows rolling into the Ethereum ETF. We've seen the resolution or the final verdict, or basically assigning the penalty for the Ripple lawsuit. So that's over and in the back in the rearview mirror. But today's big crypto article.
Car, this isn't the way home.
Nope,
That's
hold
right,
on a
James.
second. I got
It isn't.
some audio playing here from this.
Car, where are we going?
We're here.
All right, sorry about that. I had one of these ads playing on this article I got here. So I'll go ahead and pull this up. You have here crypto executives clash with Democratic leaders in a heated Zoom meeting. And so, we had a Zoom meeting, and what you had was high level or high ranking executive office members. So basically, people from Kamala's team and Biden's team put together a Zoom meeting to discuss crypto. And so we've seen some articles came out last week that said, hey, we want to reset our position on crypto. Biden and Kamala, we're going to get serious about, perhaps, making this country crypto friendly on regulation. And, it's interesting. Well, we'll give our thoughts on that in a second. But here we go. So the Zoom meeting, which was hosted by California Congressman Ro Khanna, with the goal of mending fences between the contentious election year with a budgeting industry that has been a target of massive regulation crackdown unleashed by the Biden administration financial regulators. With Vice President Kamala Harris now at the top of the ticket, the party is looking to help Harris, its 2024 nominee, win back crypto votes. And so around 20 people were on the call, including top Biden administration officials. Attendees from the crypto side included billionaire tech entrepreneur and crypto investor Mark Cuban, Skybridge Capital, Anthony Scaramucci, and we had Ro Conway. It also had executives from Ripple, Coinbase, Kraken, Uniswap, and other crypto firms. So you put all the right people in the room, at least from the crypto side. Instead of finding common ground, though, industry executives lashed out at White House officials, largely over the regulatory assault from agencies like the SEC and the Federal Reserve. And then executives, well, they didn't hold back on telling the administration reps how much damage they've done to the crypto industry and to the Democratic Party with their actions against the digital assets. And an attendee who wished to remain anonymous, per Fox Business, they basically got yelled at. That's the quote. And so another tense moment occurred when Eddie Emo told attendees that bank regulators were not actively trying to cut off the industry from the broader financial system. Basically, they were like, White House executives were like, we weren't trying to, to cut off the industry. And then in response, crypto executives asked those on the call a show of hands whose firms had been denied banking services because of White House policies. According to two attendees, nearly all industry representatives raised their hands. So, pretty interesting. Now, so we had the Zoom meeting, and in this meeting, we're supposed to, well, first of all, okay, before I even break it down. Okay, so then you have so the Winklevoss twins were at the meeting as well. But here was their tweet, or their response to the meeting. As soon as it concluded, Tyler Winklevoss says, "Can anyone explain why Kamala Harris did not attend the crypto roundtable yesterday? I understand that she's on a campaign trail, but the meeting was virtual. All she needed was an internet connection." So then we did find why, she did try to attend. And this is actually a look at Kamala here approaching in the white. We got the crypto executives having a meeting. She tried to join with her Zoom link. Say, what's up, guys? Kamala here. I'm pro crypto. And, get on out of here. All right, so you had that happen. And then you also have, obviously, the Crypto for Harris 2024 U.S. campaign branded a fraud. And so consensus is here. Guys, let's be real. The executive office is in control right now. If you wanted to change your crypto stance to positive regulation, then just do it. You're sitting in control. You're in the driver's seat. So you don't need to campaign about how you could change the crypto industry. You can just do it. And you don't even show up to a virtual meeting. It's absolutely crazy to me. I am honestly not a big Trump guy. If there was somebody else to vote for that was very progressive on crypto, I would vote for them. I'll be honest with you. I think that there are a lot of positives to take away with Trump, especially in the crypto industry. But I can't, with any ounce of my soul here, say I can back Harris or Biden or whoever the hell is at the top of the ticket, because they've done nothing but harm our industry. And my livelihood is built on crypto. So from my perspective, there's nothing. They give me nothing. There's no positive. The last bill that landed on Biden's desk, he vetoed 6 months ago. The Sob 121 repeal that gave some kind of path for banks to throw their hat in the circle when it comes to custodying and offering crypto services. Boris, what do you think about all this, man? Were you part of the Zoom call?
No, I was not invited, unfortunately. No, I think you summed it up perfectly. I don't really have anything to add that you haven't already said. I mean, I 100% agree. I mean, just change the policies. Like if you genuinely wanted to sway the crypto vote, like what you need to do is just change the policies now or before the election. If they actually did move to a pro crypto stance and pro crypto policy and made those changes before the election, I do think that they would actually get more crypto votes. But as it stands right now, like if your livelihood depends on crypto, or even you don't necessarily depend on crypto, but it's a major part of your net worth, a major part of your life, a major part of your belief system and financial independence. I know it's not the only issue at hand when you're voting for a new administration, or the next administration rather. But if it is a large part of that decision for you, like there's just no other option. Like you really just have one option right now as things stand at the moment, which is kind of sad. And again, like you don't have to agree with all of somebody's policies, but if crypto's the number one or a top 2-3 issue for you, chances are it's pretty clear who you're voting for come November, and that's just based off of what we've seen or lack of what we've seen from the current administration when it comes to crypto.
There's these swing states,
half-hearted efforts.
These swing states. I mean, I'm sure there can't be any one of the swing states that doesn't have. I would assume like 1% of the population with a strong crypto position. I know we talk about somewhere around 30% of Americans have some form of experience or currently hold crypto. And I know a lot of people may have bought SHIB during the 2021 thing, or maybe threw a couple bucks at some layer one like Cardano or something. But and so maybe those numbers are skewed to make it seem like more people hold crypto and are passionate about it. But I gotta say, it's got to at least be 1 or 2% of a population, thoroughly believes in the industry and wants to see it move forward. And as close as that race is, I mean, you got to ask yourself, like, the Bush, the second Bush election when he was going up for re-election, that was won by 600 votes in Florida. They tried to do a recount and then they shut that whole thing down. They just threw the man in office. And so, like, it doesn't take much. I mean, we have, 200 people watching here. Like, that's 200 votes right there. And I can tell you right now, between me and David, we probably have changed some voters' opinions. And so, I mean, how many thousands of votes are on the line? And maybe there's a strong pivot. Maybe you could do what Trump is campaigning on right now. You could take the Bitcoin that the U.S. currently has in the Justice Department's custody, move it over to the Treasury, and just hold it long term and take a stance and say, hey, look, here we're going to hold this. We're not going to sell it. That is very simple, very very easy, and you could do that with an executive order. And then on top of that, you have Russ Albrecht as well, and free him. Trump's going to do it when he gets out. So, like, why not be progressive? And that's just kind of my confusion there. I feel like they're leaving a lot of votes on the table. If I was in the campaign circles with Kamala's team, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer here. You don't have much to lose, right? I'm sure you're pissing off a handful of individuals, but at the same time, you're gaining so much more on the back end. Or at least losing these votes. And so, that said, we'll take a look. Also, we have BlackRock and Wisdom Tree ETFs really performed well yesterday. And so, Taking a look at some numbers, BlackRock led the pack with attracting over $157 million in net capital. And then Wisdom Tree, 118 million, largest inflows since its debut. So Wisdom Tree is picking up steam as well. So, Bitcoin's looking pretty strong lately. And then also you had Michael Saylor, throwing his hat on throwing his opinion out here. He was on Bloomberg. And on his Bloomberg interview, he was saying that Bitcoin's volatility is a positive feature. It's something that's, shows that the market is strong, has very strong liquidity, and even in these large pullbacks, we see that it does return to fair market value. And unlike other manipulated assets that, well, hey, you know what? We saw it in the recent pullback when it came to the stock market, right? They shut down trading on like 8 of the biggest stock platforms on the brokerage firms. And so, here you see Bitcoin's volatility. It is obviously it doesn't shut down. It's operational. It bounces back to fair market value once the leverage has been cleared out. And that's kind of like, I think, the biggest harp when it comes to Bitcoin from traditional finance when they're discussing it as a legitimate asset to invest in. They always bring up, hey, well, it's got this volatility thing, man. What we need is an off button. I'm like, what? So, I don't know. Anything to add here on perhaps the ETF inflows on Bitcoin, that market dip? I know we kind of talked about the market movement, but Saylor, takes any negative that you could throw at Bitcoin and says, hey, look, this is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, that Michael Saylor is always going to say the most positive thing. The guy's got $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. Like, I'm sure he would love if it didn't get rinsed down to 50K. I'm sure, when you have over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, that might give you like, I'm sure he sleeps pretty good at night with the cushion that he's got, with his entry price and his unrealized profit. Like he's in a good spot and he's done really well.
Let me ask you, do you think he like in his soul, like believes everything he's saying, or do you think it's more of a marketing and preaching to onboard people? Because I actually think that he genuinely believes that. I think he's like so delusional. Like, you ever met somebody that's so into their like wife or girlfriend that they just like, they ignore everything else in the room and they adamantly believe like, she's a perfect girl and there are perfect women out there for people, or a perfect partner, and they check all the boxes. And, is it delusion, or do you think that he's just kind of pandering here and trying to market Bitcoin for the greatest asset on the planet, even though it might have some downfalls that we're not scared to discuss?
Yeah, I think it's both. Like, I mean, you got to be pretty delusional. And again, like he's done really well with it. So I'm not saying that, like, I'm not like criticizing Bitcoin here. Like he's done really well. He's made like a really solid trade, but there's no one that's sane that is putting not only like 100% of their own net worth into Bitcoin, but also leveraging up like a large company to, take out debt and buy more Bitcoin. So he has leveraged up MicroStrategy to buy a lot of Bitcoin, and his liquidation points aren't like super close by or anything, but with the volatility of Bitcoin, like when you see that flushing, and those red candles, I don't know, maybe he doesn't watch the chart, maybe he does, but when you start to see those liquidations cascading down, I'm sure it gives them butterflies of some sort. And again, I'm not too worried about Bitcoin, going down and liquidating him, or, him getting margin called, and, Bitcoin, like there's an ETF now and he's got, pretty safe entry points all around. But I think it's a little bit of both. Like it's in his best interest to pander and to market Bitcoin. Like, why wouldn't he? He owns like a large portion of the supply. He has over $1 billion personally. He has MicroStrategy, which is the number one holder of Bitcoin.
With you.
Like,
and I was going to say,
he's going to talk up Bitcoin because it's in his best interest, but he's also delusional and crazy to put that much money in. Like,
well, like I always go like with someone that hasn't really been front and center up until, or at least hasn't had that notoriety that he's had lately since his Bitcoin position. That man goes on a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of news broadcast channels, like some of the major channels. And, does he need to? I mean, if he truly had the Bitcoin conviction without the need for marketing and pandering, I would say, hey, he would wisely just quietly accumulate in the background and get as much Bitcoin as he can. And so, I do think he is trying to get more people to adopt Bitcoin, put a position, because I think, that increases its adoption in the short term, which is going to be extremely bullish for his company, his portfolio, and, his investors. So, yeah, 100%. Also, getting into the Bitcoin kind of price volatility and its positioning, you did put out a tweet and, here you said Bitcoin thread with high block. So you had a bid ask. The ask is getting heavier, and a lot of Bitcoin was purchased last week, sitting in profit. Not surprised to see the asks get crowded. Bitcoin coming off a lot of momentum yesterday and headed into the weekend. Would not be surprised to see a divergence pump from $63,000 to $66,000 range. Is this where you're predicting, or at least you think that there's a higher probability that Bitcoin coming out of this weekend will be at a higher range, say to 63 to 66K, or if you want to walk us through maybe this chart here that you have, I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, definitely. I can go to that chart, pull it up here in just a second. Here we are.
And also, guys, hit the like button.
This is, we'll throw that on. This just kind of color codes where the ask starts getting heavy. And what this is just an indicator by high block that's like, it's the bid ask ratio. So when this is red, that means like there's a lot of limit sell orders in the books within I think it's got it set to like a 2.5 or 5% range. So it means like there's a lot of Bitcoin up here for sale, right? In relation to the amount of Bitcoin that, is down here, within, 2.5% of, current price on the downside. So the ratio between that is like, it's tilted in favor of there's more supply than demand in the immediate zone that we're in within, 2.5% in either direction. So when the bid ask gets skewed, in one way or another, obviously, like, it's not the end of the world. It's not like the only metric that controls the price of Bitcoin, but like you can see historically, like up here, I've got it color coded to where when this bid ask ratio gets above a certain threshold, this kind of turns red in the background, shaded red in the background, and it just kind of shows you like, hey, we're pumping in price here, but there's a lot for sale up here all of a sudden. And that you can definitely see an uptrend where that you continue to chew through that ask, but when you start running into that heavy bid ask ratio, kind of usually leads to a correction, at least, right? The point here is like, this doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin's just going to fall off a cliff and go back down to 52K immediately, but it's just like there's a lot for sale, like, and a big reason for that is because a lot of Bitcoin down here just got bought. Right. And then you look at like, where was the last time that the bid was heavier than the ask? It was down here. Right. So you had a ton of people buying 60K held down to 49.50, and they're just happy to get out at break even right here. So they're, selling their Bitcoin that they bought over here at 60, again at 60 to break even, because they just, got rinsed. I personally, if I had to guess here, and kind of what I talked about in the thread is, you see all these dots up here, these lines, those are all, liquidations, so there's a lot of liquidity up there. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a big stab to 60, especially over the weekend. We've seen some pumpy weekends after the markets close, news slows down. I could definitely see 63 to 65K, maybe even pump up to take out 66K, or really run all of these liquidations before maybe exploring the potential of, trying to form a higher low, potentially all the way down at 52. But, ideally,
I was
like
kind
to
of thinking
form higher.
Forrest, I was just kind of thinking that, I wouldn't be surprised to see like that big violent swing to the upside. I feel like it's something we haven't really seen much of in months. And we did have the quick downturn, but you think that maybe you can come out with where we're like over 70K? I mean, or is that really just contingent on some really bullish news. I just feel like in cycles past, in the early stages of the bull market, we get these big moves in short little, 3-4 day windows. Do you think that that's something that's on the table, or do you feel just more comfortable in this 63 to 66 range?
Yeah, there's a ton of liquidity up at 70K. I think what we need to see happen is we need to see a reaction in this range, right? The 63 to 65K, there's all these liquidations here. Do we actually, jam through it, liquidate everything, and then hold afterwards and make a higher low and continue this trend upwards, right? Which would, be very bullish. So if you jam up to 66 and then you come back down to 63 and make make some support there, that's bullish. Like that's exactly what we'd want to see. And I'd say then we probably go up to jam up into these liquidations. There's tons of liquidity up at 70K. You get a short squeeze, everybody trying to short the top at 70K again, and that's what sends us over. But alternatively, if we jam up to 66, it's just a wick, right, on the daily or the 3-day, and then we start losing 63 again, right? The last time we've lost 63, right? The last time we lost 63, we crashed all the way down to 49. So if we take 63 and then we fail to hold it, then that's where I start to worry about all of this liquidity that's building up around 52K. And then I could see a scenario where we double bottom around 49 to 52K, make that higher low, and then proceed to go upwards. So really the most important part of the chart for me is 63 to 65K and seeing how Bitcoin reacts if and when we get there.
All right. And then I'll shift this conversation to TradFi, also stable coins as well. So a lot going on. Obviously, you had the Ripple lawsuit come to an end. We know that, hey, there was probably a lot of stagnation on partnerships and development, at least here in the US and in Europe. Per the court case, a lot of people, took a hands-off approach on Ripple. Why take a risk if they're in a current litigation with the SEC? We saw delisting of their token on pretty much all American-based exchanges, which now has been reversed, and we're starting to see, the trading again. But a couple things I'll get into Ripple here in a second, but we'd had some Franklin Templeton news come out today. So Franklin Templeton, the FOBXX fund, available now on Arbitrum. So Franklin Templeton, and I'm going to scroll down here so you can get a little perspective of how big they are. I'm sure it's a household name. You might have heard of them, but Franklin Templeton, an American investment company founded in 1947, so almost 100 years in operation. One of the largest groups in the world for managing savings, with over $1.6 trillion in assets under management, with around 25 million clients. So Arbitrum Foundation and the global asset manager, Franklin Templeton, announced yesterday that Franklin On-Chain U.S. Government Money Fund, also goes by the ticker FOBXX, is available on Arbitrum. Thanks to the launch on what is probably the main layer 2 on Ethereum to date, Arbitrum users can gain exposure to FOBXX through Benji investment platform. And here it is. And so you just go to franklintempleton.com, investments, and then they have money market funds. And here you have, the fund that has almost $500 million with $420 million. The fund invests at least 99.5 of its total assets in U.S. government securities, cash, and repurchase agreements collateralized fully by the U.S. government's securities or cash. So pretty bullish here. We're seeing that it's no longer taboo for a giant broker or an investment house to put their products on a blockchain. I mean, last bull market cycle, if you would have had any big names say that they were even messing around with a test net on a blockchain on a layer 1 or a layer 2, it's even crazier. If any of that news came out, I think it would be so bullish that everyone would freak out, pull their hair out. And so this is kind of run-of-the-mill news now. And, we got Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo's messing around with crypto now. And so, I do think that once the regulation roadblocks are pulled, I just don't see a way that every single asset manager and bank doesn't start using crypto. Operates 24 hours a day. You can't turn it off, and there's just a growing user base for it. And so it fixes real world problems, especially in the legacy financial world where things take 24 to 48 hours to operate. It closes at 4:30 p.m. and doesn't operate on holidays or weekends. So obviously, money moves. I need to spend money. I need to move money, send money at odd times of the week and odd times of the year. And so obviously, I think this is extremely bullish. And then anything you want to add on Franklin Templeton here when it comes to their funds?
No, I just think we'll continue to see more money moving on chain, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
I think bonds and the tokenized real world assets, particularly through the investment vehicles through the stock market, I think are going to grow. They're going to be more dominant. More dominance is going to start shifting over from the traditional products that, were offered through the stock market and through your traditional retirement and investment account. I think that these are all just going to slowly start moving on chain. I think it just makes a lot of sense. And then you have, Tether and the stablecoin industry. So, taking a look at Tether, Tether minted 1.3 billion USDT just recently. And, here is, so 1.3 USDT. Now, this has been since the bottom in August 5th. So just over 4 days ago. And so a ton of USDT is hitting the exchanges. And you can see here, this is the Tether's market cap on the 1 year. And so you can see that this has been steady growth from 83 billion to 115 billion. And you can go back to the 5-year chart. It's even more dramatic. Going into the last bull market cycle, we were at $6 billion. And so just over the course of 4 years, you went from $6 billion up to $115 billion. It shows you how much money is in these funds. And then I think that I do have also wanted to get into Ripple. So that's Tether, but in comes a new opponent, Ripple. And now that they have finished the court case, well, let's play around with stable coins. Let's get this the dollar going. And I think we're going to see a lot more headlines like this. The fact that this isn't a giant talking point is shocking to me. Testing RLUSD. That's Ripple Labs USD. We're excited to share that Ripple USD is now in private beta on the XRP Ledger ETH mainnet. And so not only on their own native ledger, but also on the ETH network. Has not yet received regulatory approval and therefore is not available for purchase and trading. And this is also per their press release. And so a new era of stablecoins is Ripple USD begins testing on XRP mainnet. So Ripple's excited to announce that we've begun testing the RLUSD on the XRP Ledger and ETH network. The significant milestone, a step closer to more high-quality assets on the ledger, driving new opportunities, liquidity, institutional use cases for developers and applications. The mainnet version of the stablecoin is also available on Ethereum, and it plans to expand to additional blockchains and DeFi protocols over time. Now, the Ripple USD is currently in the beta phase, rigorously tested by its enterprise partners, and they're ensuring that the stablecoin meets highest standard of security, efficiency, reliability before it becomes more widely available, and it also needs regulatory approval. So it's not available for purchase at this time. And so I know you have spoken very bullishly about Ripple and the XRP token and kind of the direction, now that the court case is behind us, we see that probably one of the strongest areas for generating capital and making money and having a profitable business is with these stable coins, which are backed by short-term treasury bonds. And what do you think about the Ripple news? What do you think about Tether? And obviously you need that liquidity to take the bull market into the next level, right? You need that capital on the side. That's coming in the form of Tether, but then also you have new players entering in the ring. I mean, not to forget about the other guys like Circle, but I don't know. I feel like Ripple, for some reason, is going to make a giant dent in this space. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to 3 years from now replace the market cap of Circle, for example, as kind of that native U.S. stablecoin that everyone is leaning more to. I mean, what's your kind of takeaway on all this?
Yeah, I'm super bullish Ripple on a long-term time frame. Like, if it drops by 20% tomorrow, don't come get mad at me. Yeah, I think like my personal targets are $10 to $17 over the course of the next couple of years. It's in a 6-year winding pattern. Like if you just look at the chart, like looking at the chart and not even paying attention to fundamentals, real world assets, stablecoin, you've got a 6-year winding pattern, basically a symmetric triangle that if and when that breaks out, usually just it's a radical repricing to the upside. Above 75 cents, I'll probably put really sizable chunk of my net worth and portfolio into Ripple. Think about if it starts holding above 75 cents, that's been a big resistance level for it in the past. If it starts holding, daily and weekly candles above 75 cents, I'll just, throw probably 20, 30, 40% of my portfolio into spot Ripple and just let it sit. Because I think it'll just reprice to the upside based on the chart predominantly more than anything. Like I know everyone, people point out issues and problems or whatever. It's like, that's fine. But I'll just, let the chart kind of speak for itself. And,
Yeah.
but it could be months until that happens, right? That it's still got quite a ways to go, potentially before the terminal point of that pattern. So,
I think when
yeah,
when when Bitcoin really gets off and running again, and say we get above that previous all-time high, because I'm in the camp that we're in the early stages of the bull market. I know there's been some people coming out here saying, "Hey, was that the top for the bull market?" We're like, stop it. And so once Bitcoin gets back above 73K, say we're seeing an 80, 85,000, maybe $90,000 Bitcoin. There's going to be certain altcoins that really just run hard. The same movement we saw out of Solana going into the beginning of the year, where Solana went from that $20 up to where it is now, outperforming pretty much all the altcoins. I have a feeling that XRP is going to do the same. How many deals are just kind of sitting on the sideline, just waiting for this, court case to finish? How many partnerships? And not to mention, I'm not saying that they haven't been building, because Ripple has grown and their network is increased by a factor of 10 since the court case. So I mean, they haven't slowed down, but I think now it's going to really accelerate. Wouldn't be surprised to see that dollar XRP once Bitcoin's over that 73K mark. And I mean, you feel kind of that is that kind of what you're thinking as well? Is going to outperform the altcoin market? Is that why you want to take such a heavy position if it gets over 70, that 70 cents?
Yeah, I mean, just basically, like, there's 6 years in the crypto space. Like, it's predominantly just the chart. Like, above anything else, it's just the chart. Like, you look at the Tesla chart, it's like nobody could fathom Tesla going from $12 to 200 because they were comparing it to like the market cap of Ford or Volkswagen or like these other car companies. Like, but then you look at like a 6-year range from 2013 to 2019 breaking out on Tesla, and it zipped from $12 to 200 like in a very, very short period of time with like very few pullbacks. It was just a straight shot to 200. That's the kind of windup that we're sitting in crypto, which again, 6 years in crypto, like there's like the vast majority of crypto charts don't have 6 years of data on them, So XRP potentially breaking out from a 6-year range. I'm just, like I'm gonna long that. There's like you just can't find a chart with a 6-year range in crypto, other than XRP. And when that thing breaks out, I'm getting on board. I don't really, I don't have a justification for why I think it's going to go to, a fundamental justification to how to, justify a $17, whatever the market cap is at $17. That's just what the chart says. The chart says, potentially $10 to $17. So yeah, if that thing starts breaking out, I'm just tossing my money at it. And worst case scenario, maybe I underperform the overall crypto market, but it's breaking out of a 6-year range, you're probably going to be doing okay.
I love the conviction, man. Absolutely love it. I know a lot of us have been sitting there with their XRP. I don't have a giant position. I have less than, I think, 2% of my portfolio in XRP. So not the biggest skin in the game from myself personally, but I know that there's so many viewers, so many of our community members that have been holding XRP for the longest time. And I just also don't see these people just exiting, right? I don't see people that held for, as you mentioned, for 6 years, dealing with this court case, and then being like, finally, it's over $1, I'm out. Like, I just don't see that happening. So I think that the community,
no way are gonna get out of $1.
Yeah, exactly.
No
So I just don't see the community abandoning after having such a long-term hold. And so the amount of users that are holders of XRP, how many wallets there are, its time in the market, and now that it's got the green light from the SEC. It's been forced upon by the judge, but their token's not a security, and now Ripple can essentially move to become a publicly traded company. They're obviously making strides in the stablecoin system area. So if you're a fan of XRP, I don't know what else you need. I'm sure you'd like to see that $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 XRP. Maybe you thought it was going to absolutely take off immediately after the news broke. But you know what? There's not a lot of new money and liquidity flowing into the altcoin markets right now in this stage of the bull market. So I think that is in due time. So as you mentioned, I do think once this thing gets moving, there's not much that's going to stop it, in my opinion. We do have some other news coming out of, so we got a couple upgrades coming up, or a couple milestones to take a look at. One, you have the Chang hard fork. So that nears 70% as node update reached the next level. So basically, when you get to 75% of node operators running the new hard fork, it activates the hard fork combinator, which will shift over to the Voltaire era, basically making Cardano more decentralized. But a big caveat here is the fact that with the Voltaire era, there is 1 billion ADA tokens being unlocked that can be used for developer grants, for marketing, and for whatever else the community wants to spend money on. So we'll see maybe that next stage of Cardano. And I think that, the same kind of argument that we were making with XRP, where, hey, we're expecting a big move to the upside once Bitcoin breaks all-time highs. I think that the same can be said for Cardano. Just simply looking at a historical chart, you've seen that once retail starts to get that euphoria, once profits start moving from Bitcoin and Ethereum down into the alts, and this is one of the top plays, and I don't see much narrative to go against that. And so I think once that new money comes in, once retail jumps in, I think Cardano's off to the races. Also, you have Near Protocol. So Near Protocol, chain abstraction, the final frontier. The day has arrived. Near Protocol's chain signatures have moved into mainnet. So it's no longer in testnet. We're ready to move forward together to a chain abstraction future. The time to tear down the barriers for entry, liquidity, and usability is now here. Chain signatures allow the signing of any transaction on any blockchain directly from your Near account. And today's signatures launched for Bitcoin, ETH, Doge, XRP, Cosmos, Polkadot, and more. And any ECDSA-based chain is compatible. Solana's coming too. Will be shortly. If you don't know anything about the chain abstraction and the chain signatures, you you put on here, human readable addresses, all native to Near protocol, and all of the transactions and smart contract functionality that you would have to sign in and create a wallet and create an account and have, you have to change, your ETH mainnet to, change over to the ETH mainnet on your MetaMask, or go into your ledger for your Bitcoin. You can handle all of this natively on the Near blockchain without moving over to those chains to operate. Also, very, very user friendly for dApps, for developers. And so now also they allow dApp developers to code in Rust and some other pretty friendly coding languages on what would be complex blockchain languages that a lot of developers aren't used to. So pretty bullish for interconnected ecosystem. And I think that, this is the type of things that doesn't get giant headlines, but it very quietly gives more functionality and use case to a chain. And we know what happens when users start using something without, once money starts moving through a chain, you see that the token price generally does go up. Any big takeaways from either Cardano or the Near protocol chain abstraction?
I mean, both continuing to work. Near's interesting. Near's been a pretty decent performer this year. It's kind of tried to keep pace with some other stuff like Sui and Solana. So interesting to see Near continuing to develop. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably be a little bit more excited about Near. Just lower market cap, I think more potential. Cardano for me, just like price action has been so bad recently that like I'm not against Cardano by any means, but it's like I need to see a bid. Like I need to see the price go up first before I can justify putting my money there. If I do, like I think the charts bottomed out enough that if we do start to see like a strong trend forming, it could be something that just totally rips and catches a lot of people off guard. But until that happens, like I just want to pay more attention to the stuff that's been performing really well. And Near has been has bounced back when from the lows pretty hard. And when things were running like Solana earlier in the year towards March and April, Near was keeping pace. So yeah, kind of bullish on Near a little bit. Cardano, we'll see. Cardano, I just think it needs to prove itself again. Maybe this hard fork.
I think
be,
Cardano really just needs that
retail.
retail kind of FOMO, right? That's what we saw last bull market. And I just look at it like, what, retail just isn't quite here yet. And I know that I feel like the people that were deep into crypto in 2021 that, saw those big gains and then had a lot of that wiped away, maybe walked away from the table for a little while. They got up and they're like, you know what, man, I'm down. And they might have gotten punched to the gut. I think those people are back, right? I think those visitors that we had to crypto are back, right? But the new retail isn't here, right? We haven't seen new money. We haven't seen people that haven't had an exposure to crypto get really passionate and excited about jumping into the space. And I think when or if that even comes, this bull market, I think that's kind of what is needed to take Cardano to the next level, because it does have a lack of interest from venture capital. They didn't really have that traditional ICO that all the other chains had. So I think that's what it needs. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of that same boat. I'm pretty bullish on Near in the shorter term. I think that it's a great play for a layer one. Maybe it does get some of that Solana movement. Maybe it does get a lot of dApps and meme coins and smart contract use cases on its layer one, and then a lot of this might pour over into the chain abstractions and into some other more functional chains as well for interoperability. But no, I'm pretty bullish on both. But I'm pretty much in the same camp as you are. Bullish on Cardano. I think that once it gets running, I think then at that point it'll signal that retail's in, and I think it's off to the stars, right? Real quick, I did want to give a big shout out to our channel sponsor, Cam's Blue Wire Tech. And so if you operate a business and you're looking for IT and network solutions and data security, well, look no further than bluewiretech.com. We got a link in the description, or you just type in bluewiretech.com. And so if you're looking to scale your business or secure your network, or if you just need somebody to talk to, if you're having networking and IT issues, look no further than Cam's Blue Wire Tech, our longest tenured sponsor that we've had here. So big shout out to them. And then I think that for the most part, yeah, that wraps it up on my end. Do you got anything else you want to add? Any big takeaways from this weekend? I know you threw out 63 to 66K as a place that you would expect Bitcoin to move to, or at least, likelihood to. Any big takeaways for this weekend?
I mean, I think, same thing I always say, but just take risk management seriously. I know, like, we're all here and we're all bullish on crypto. Otherwise, why would we be spending, every day, talking about crypto and researching crypto?
Yeah.
But at the same time, stuff starts running, people get excited, you throw in too much money. And I know a lot of people that have lost money in crypto had a bad taste in their mouth, because they've just, taken too much risk. At the end of the day, these are financial markets. And while we're super bullish, well, this latest liquidation, this latest, crash down to 49K. And look how far we've come. Like, a year and a half ago, we were down at 15, 16K. And now the bad scenario was 49K. Like, the washout scenario is 49K. So we've come a long ways, and I still think we have a long ways to go. But don't be one of those people that, we've come all this way and Bitcoin goes down to 49K and you lose everything because you were over leveraged, right? So I just want to urge people to continue to take risk management seriously. Spot is your friend, right? Spot is your friend. Just, just stay away from leverage if you can. Not saying don't ever use leverage. There's a time and a place, but I know some people were probably badly affected in the past, couple of weeks with this latest crash, as it's, we've come a long way, and the chart's still looking really solid, still bullish, but just take risk management seriously. It's fun to talk about Michael Saylor going 100% Bitcoin, 100% all in on crypto, leveraging up his company. Doesn't mean you have to do the same thing. Make sure you can feed your family, make sure you're in a good spot overall. There's no reason to, no reason to let crypto take you out and let crypto work in your favor is all I'm trying to say. Time in the market's your friend, spot's your friend, and just, keep good risk management habits.
Yeah. The volatility swings on a bull market, it's like no other. Right. And so, I know nobody likes to trade in the middle of a bear market, but less chance for giant candles in those scenarios. And, well said. You're going to get big upside movements, which, you'll see those giant green numbers on your trade when you close it out, and, be all proud of yourself. But, those move just as dramatically to the downside as well. And so proceed with caution. Well, thank you so much for joining us for it. It was a great show, man. Absolutely loved it. I know the chat was engaged here. And then I know the only one I didn't talk about was Caspa today. We did go over XRP, and we did go over Cardano. But Caspa's looking real good, man. I'm liking it. I'm liking where it's at. We did a Caspa video yesterday as well. They're adding some more liquidity. We're expecting some more exchanges to start listing Caspa. So with that said, we are going to drop an elbow this thing out of here. I'm not going to do the tornado. But all right, guys. Well, we'll be back on Monday. And so thank you again for joining us. And until next time, also go check out Sistine Research. That's Forrest's platform. So link in the description. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Have a nice weekend. Bye tutti.
No capping with Bitcoin. If you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin is your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya, to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting folks FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.